didn't talk to me much about it. But what I got from them was not to confront it, but to get around it. We lived in Harlem, and without it being said, it was clear where we stood and what America, who was running America, who was running New York City, and what our place was. But my parents didn't tell me much about Garvey and things of that nature, I guess because they didn't want me to get killed.
I see.
Because if they told me, I'd get angry, and I might end up with one of these groups and get in trouble. So we were taught to accommodate things. When we went downtown, there were white salesmen in various department stores that my mother had gotten to know, and she would always ask for this salesman because that was the only salesman that would really treat my mother with any respect. Lord and Taylor's, there was a guy named Mr. Solo. I don't know why I remember him, but he was always nice to my mother when she took me down to get dressed up for Easter. So we were taught to accommodate it. Joe Louis, heavyweight champion of the world, when he came to New York to defend his title, he couldn't stay downtown. He stayed with friends up in Harlem, and we would run out in front of the house where he was staying and wait for him to come out, but again, that's the way things were. The economy of Harlem, as it is today, was controlled by outsiders. None of the merchants were burnt of skin.
I see.
And
so your father stood out for that reason too,
he
didn't
was like a sore thumb.
I see.
He was like a sore thumb. And there were a lot of people who coveted, and resented. He was a very imposing looking man, and he was proud, and he had his own business. That's not what the American dream by the dreamers had in mind.
Yes.
They didn't want that. And so they resented him. I was very proud of my father and my mother, but they left out a lot because I wasn't getting anything in school. Yes. I think I learned this much about Dr. Carver, and I think I learned even less about Booker T. Washington, but that was it. So I grew up through school, junior high school, not knowing much about myself at all. But then the 50s came along. And living in Harlem, this was the clearinghouse for the leaders of the struggle.
Yes.
The Black Panthers, SNCC, SCLC, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Porkchop Davis, the sidewalk speakers. I mean, and I was in Harlem, I said, huh? What did you say? I never heard the things that they were saying. Racism has learned how to really be more disguised and more political. It's not as overt, but it's still virulent. You don't hear the N-word by them as much anymore, but the practice of racism is still virulent. No, I don't. I think America has yet to face up to its very beginnings and the enormity of its crime. I think you were right when you said what you said about the man who struck down your son. America taught that man to hate your son. And that happens every day. And in broadcasting, it is manifest because there are people who decide what's going to be on and what isn't going to be on, what's going to be covered and what isn't going to be covered. The context. And blacks are coming in too often, and they, in their appetite to make it, they begin to sing the same song. So there is no diversity. It's awful, and I'm deeply concerned about that. And I think it's going to really bode ill for the United States of America. We're beginning to get whiffs of it now. We've been getting whiffs down through history, but the stench is getting, more ominous. So I think the only answer is for us to really learn a little bit more about our past and face up to it.